Dadabhai Naoroji, the enunciator of drain of wealth theory. The grand old man of India's national movement, Dadabhai Naoroji, was a legendary with a multi-dimensional personality. He is regarded as one of the few who gave birth to the modern independence movement in India. He played a key role in developing socio-political infrastructure. He was a man of great intellectual and exposed the exploitative policies of British. He was the pioneer of Indian nationalism. The sheer length of his life itself makes him very important. The Indian at the heart of British Empire, Naoroji was one of the first to propose the idea of Swaraj. He was a Parsi gentleman and the first Indian to become a member of the British Parliament and to start an Indian company in Britain. The first Asian to enter the House of Commons, Naoroji was also a man who represented anti-imperialism before Mahatma Gandhi's arrival. Naoroji has influenced many Indian leaders including Mahatma Gandhi, Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Gopal Krishna Gokhale, but the country is generally oblivious of his contributions. His contributions to our nation is notable and extremely remarkable. Early life. Naoroji was born on September 4, 1925 into a Gujarati-speaking Zoroastrian Parsi family in Navsari to Naoroji Palanji Dordi and Manikbai Naoroji Dordi. In 1829, when Naoroji was just 4 years old, his father Naoroji Palanji Dordi passed away and all the responsibilities fell on his mother Manikbai. His mother never complained, incredibly overcame odds and carried out her responsibilities with great courage. Naoroji said about his mother, "She made me what I am." He received a good education at the Central English School run by the Bombay Native Education Society, probably the best school in Mumbai at the time. His education also played an important role in his overall growth and future contributions. Naoroji's marriage confirmed his relationship with Gulbai Shroff at the very young age of 11 in the year 1836. On May 1, 1840, Dadabhai Naoroji was enrolled at Elphinstone College. He had a wonderful academic career at Elphinstone College. His professor introduced the political, philosophical, and economic thoughts at the forefront of European thought to Naoroji and his classmates, many of which were related to liberal reforms. There were already many Indians who advocated women's education, but Naoroji was the first generation in Mumbai to turn these emotions into actions and build a school network for them. In 1845, he completed his studies at Elphinstone College. Career. In 1848, he led the establishment of the Student Literature and Science Association. At the age of 25, he became an assistant professor at the Elphinstone Institute. On 26 August 1852, he delivered his maiden political speech at the meeting that inaugurated the Bombay Association. In December 1855, 4 years later, he was selected as a professor of mathematics and natural philosophy at the same institution. Professor Olebar called him the promise of India. On August 1, 1851, he established Rahanume Masdaisne Sabha to renew or restore the original purity and simplicity of Zoroastrianism. In 1854, he also founded the bi-weekly Gujarati publications Rast Goftar or the Truth Teller to clarify the concept of Zoroastrianism and promote Parsi social reform. This time, he also published another newspaper called The Voice of India. In 1855, he travelled to London to become a partner in Kama & Co., opening at Liverpool, and it became the first Indian company to be established in Britain. Within 3 years, he had resigned on ethical grounds. In 1859, he established his own cotton trading company, Dadabhai Naoroji and Co. Later, he became professor of Gujarati in University College, London. In 1865, Naoroji headed and founded the London Indian Society, whose purpose was to discuss Indian political, social, and literary topics. In 1861, Naoroji founded the Zoroastrian Trust Fund of Europe with Mancharji Hormuzji Kama. In 1867, he also helped establish the East India Association, one of the predecessor organizations to the Indian National Congress, whose aim was to present the views of India to the British public. The association played an important role in resisting the propaganda of the London Ethnographic Society, which attempted to show that Asians are inferior to Europeans at a meeting in 1866. The association soon gained the support of prominent British figures and was able to exert influence considerably in the British Parliament, and also resulted in the establishment of new branches in Mumbai, Kolkata, and Chennai. In 1874, he became Prime Minister of Baroda and was a member of the Bombay Legislative Council from 1885 to 1888. A few years before the founding of the Indian National Congress in Mumbai, he was also a member of the Indian National Association, founded by Sir Surendranath Banerjee of Calcutta, with the same goals and practices. The two groups were later merged into the INC, and Naoroji was elected President of Congress in 1886. The Drain of Wealth Theory. Dadabhai Naoroji's book Poverty and Un-British Rule in India was published in 1901. This was a compilation of 30 years of detailed research and papers that he had published on how British policies lead to lower productivity, a drain of wealth, and devastations across India. Although other nationalists alluded the fact that British rule had weakened the Indian economy, Naoroji managed to expand the status backed by solid data, statistics, and hard numbers that he collected from around the country. In this way, the loss of wealth was quantified. The numbers he got were staggering. In 1867, he calculated that British rule resulted in a transfer of £1.6 billion of wealth from India. He also claimed that drainage continued unabated. The Britain managed to transfer at least £33 million from India every year. He was also the first to try to calculate average per capita income in India. In 1871, according to his estimate, India's GDP was about £200 million. He concluded that at the time, the per capita income of each Indian was only 27 to 40 shillings, which was 25 times lower than the average income of the British. His analysis took great efforts and met great cynicism in Britain, but the data he collected and the conclusions he drew still prevails. This book is still a seminal work of that period, and it continues to influence debate and discussion even today. In fact, Naoroji is most often remembered today as the person who marked the heartbreaking loss of wealth. Progress. Naoroji moved to the Britain again and continued his political participation. He was elected by the Liberal Party of Central Finsbury in the 1892 general election and was the first British member of Parliament from India. During his tenure, he devoted himself to improving the situation in India. He had a very clear vision and was an effective communicator. He expounded his views on the Indian situation in the entire country's government history and colonial rulers' rule. In Parliament, he gave a speech on Irish local autonomy and the condition of the Indian people. He was also a famous member of Freemasonry. In his political campaign and duties as a member of Congress, he was assisted by the future Muslim nationalist and founder of the state of Pakistan, Muhammad Ali Jinnah. In 1906, Naoroji was again elected president of the Indian National Congress. He was the mentor of Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, and Mahatma Gandhi. In December 1906, he served as the president of the Calcutta Congress and he delivered his presidential address on 26 December, calling for Swaraj. On 12 January 1915, Gandhi, who had recently arrived in India after completing his South African career, visited Naoroji at the Pettit family house in Bombay. Death. He returned to England in 1916 but fell ill. He started to suffer from bronchitis. He returned to India in October. Dr. Meherbano was in charge of his health. On June 30, 1917, Dadabhai Naoroji departed at Palitana House on Kumbhala Hill, Mumbai. Views and opinions. Naoroji called on Indians to achieve Swaraj autonomy. He claimed that if Indians truly control their own government, they can also gain skills and experience to improve the country. He was surprised by this comparison, how the ordinary people in modern countries live so well compared to ordinary Indians who are very poor and even on the verge of starvation. He was an instrumental force in the very creation of nationalism and understanding the grassroots ideas. He wrote, "The British rule caused only impoverishment in India with their knife of sugar." This is to say, there is no operation. It is all smooth and sweet, but it is a knife notwithstanding. In his works, he concluded that the exercise of foreign governments on India is not good for the country, and independence, or at least a responsible government, would be the best way for India. Legacy. Naoroji is often remembered as the grand old man of Indian nationalism. He is also known as the unofficial ambassador of India. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi wrote to Naoroji in 1894 saying that the Indians look up to you as children to the father. Such is really the feeling here. A plaque referring to Dadabhai Naoroji is located outside the Finsbury Town Hall on Rosebery Avenue, London. He was also a member of the Second International along with Kautsky and Plekanov. In 2014, Deputy Prime Minister Nick Clegg inaugurated the Dadabhai Naoroji Awards for services to UK-India relations. India Post depicted Naoroji on stamps in 1963, 1997 and 2017. He has roads named in his honor in 3 countries, India, Pakistan and Britain. Notable works. He started the Rast Goftar Anglo-Gujarati newspaper in 1854, The Manners and Customs of the Parsis, Bombay 1864, The European and Asiatic Races, London 1866. His famous work is Poverty and Un-British Rule in India, published in 1901. Conclusion. Naoroji was an intellectual educator, economist, writer, journalist, member of parliament, political leader, social reformer, businessman, pioneer in many fields, and what not. From becoming a professor at Elphinstone Institute in the Britain to becoming the first Indian to become a member of the British Parliament, he founded the East India Association and co-founded the Indian National Congress, founded an Indian company in the Britain. He was the man who exposed the British government and its policies of exploitation. His contribution and ideology paved the way for India's independence. He showed great perseverance and had a huge impact on India's booming independence movement. He showed great tenacity and truly deserved to be called the grandfather of India. He rooted his thoughts at the grassroots level and paved the way for young nationalists to resist imperialism and break the shackles of British rule. His thoughts must flow in our blood and his contributions must not be forgotten. For a country where the history of nationalists and revolutionaries never ends, he is indeed a rare figure.